Mario Adrion.
That's right. That's me.
And gentlemen. My first question for you is, how did you get so fabulous?
Fabulous?
Yeah.
I was just born this way, I wish I could give you some advice, you know what I mean? But I woke up, or I was born, and I was just ridiculously good looking, No, thank you. I appreciate it.
I mean, like,
I don't know if this is,
I don't mean like in just the looks department, but like you're physically fit, you're very funny.
Yeah, thank you.
Your videos that you make are hilarious.
Yeah.
And I've seen the one stand-up clip I saw of you.
Okay.
I laughed and I also cried.
Oh, the proposal. That's a good one to start.
When you proposed to your girlfriend.
Yeah.
In Chicago.
Yeah.
And I think everybody should look up this video. It's on your
It's on Instagram
everything.
And also on YouTube. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I totally made my proposal into a full social media event because I'm German, so I'm efficient. I like using every single part of my life.
But you've mastered the algorithms of social media.
Yeah.
How many followers do you have on Instagram?
On Instagram, like 320,000. On YouTube, like 900,000.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just a full-time job, honestly. It's not mastering. It's more like trying, failing again, trying new things. Then one thing works, you kind of adjust. Yeah.
But you're saying, you turned your wedding proposal into an event.
Yeah.
You've turned your whole life into an event.
True.
Like making these videos and stuff.
Yeah. No, but I like it. I mean, I've always liked expressing myself, and what I like about social media is that you have the freedom to express yourself without a gatekeeper, right?
Yeah.
Because before I was doing modeling and I did some acting, and there was always somebody I had to impress in order for me to express myself creatively. And I just love with YouTube, I can just do whatever, just turn the camera on.
But the editing do you edit them on your phone and stuff?
No. I have so I started editing on an iPad on YouTube, and I actually built a following of like 60,000 subscribers on YouTube just by editing on my iPad. But then at some point you just gotta, then I invested, I got my first MacBook, and then I hired an editor about like 4 years into making YouTube videos, which was a game changer. Because before I hired an editor, I didn't have a life. Like I couldn't do stand-up comedy.
So you have an editor doing it?
I do have an editor now.
Because the editing is fantastic.
Thank you, yeah.
And the storytelling on the clips for each topic is really great.
Yeah.
But you don't do that on your wedding proposal. And I want to talk to you. It was such a beautiful moment because I've played at Zanies in Chicago since I was 19.
Amazing club.
I mean, I've grown up on that stage.
Yeah.
That neighborhood, that club, the city itself of Chicago really means a lot to me.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching, and it's a really high stage. It's not...
No, it feels like you're towering over the audience a little bit. It's really, you're up there.
I mean, just for stand-up, it's real stand and deliver place, There's no hiding.
No.
But it was so beautiful, the story that you told about your first date. You both did an open mic night. And then she thought you were gay. So
she thought I was gay.
So she shows up dressed like not very nice.
No. No, it's a true story. I mean, most people think I'm gay because I'm from Germany. I'm European, so we have a little gay vibe, and I love that. By the way, I love when people think I'm gay. I think it's a compliment.
I love that you're European and that this secret thought that a lot of Americans carry in their head.
Is he gay or European?
Yeah.
No, but so I met my fiance at a Christmas party in LA, and again, I thought she was so beautiful, and she just thought I was gay, but she liked my vibe. And then I invited her a couple days later to my first ever open mic. It was at Second City in Hollywood, the improv school. They also have an open mic night, and I just invited her because I thought she was cool, but I didn't think she was actually going to come. Like she has no ambitions of ever becoming a comedian. But I love that she was so open-minded and she just went up on stage for fun and performed in front of 25 people at an open mic.
She didn't have anything prepared?
Nothing. She just walked up and talked about her cat for 5 minutes straight.
Wow.
And I was so attracted to her because of that playfulness. And I have the same thing of just trying something new for the sake of trying something new.
Yeah.
And that openness to play and get out of your comfort zone. I respected her so much for that. And I think that's when I fell in love with her. Yeah.
It's beautiful. And how you retold the story with her on stage in Chicago, and then you propose to her.
Yeah.
And she starts jumping up and down, and she yells into the mic, yes.
Yeah.
When it was such a beautiful moment, and her enthusiasm, I I'm an emotional guy.
Yeah.
You know, I cry at a good steak.
Yeah.
But
at a good steak.
Yeah. But
I want to see that. Just like the most masculine thing ever, like eating a steak and you just sobbing. You know what I mean?
So yeah, it really made me cry, and you know, and it made me fall in love with you and your love story.
Thank you.
So I think you have a lot of people. You made a lot of people happy, and a lot of people are cheering for you.
Yeah, and I made a lot of gay people sad, but you know that comes with it. That comes with.
So you're from like the what's the part of Germany? Bavaria?
No, it's called the Black
Hills.
Forest.
The Black Forest.
Black Hills is cool too. No, Black Forest.
Where the gummy bears come from.
And the fairy tales and the ham and the cake. Black Forest cake.
Okay.
Black Forest cake is probably the most famous one. But yeah, the gummy bears come from there too.
Yeah.
And it's like a small town. It's called, I always say this in my stand-up, it's a small town called Alpirsbach im Hochschwarzwald.
We all know that.
Look it up. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard of it. But yeah, it's a town of like...
It rolls off the tongue.
It does.
How do you say it?
Alpirsbach im Hochschwarzwald. You want to try it?
No.
He's like, no. No.
I couldn't learn the Dutch language, and I lived in Amsterdam for 5 years.
People shit on the German language. I think Dutch is arguably even more aggressive than German.
It's pretty...
Because Dutch has more of the, you know.
And Dutch is a
spit sound.
bridge language between English and German.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
so
makes sense,
like half of it sounds English, like house is house.
Yeah.
And then the other, lot of consonants.
100%. It's like, it sounds, I can actually read Dutch, but once they start pronouncing it, I'm out. Like it's written similarly to German, but the pronunciation is so heavy on the you know, so it's hard to.
Well, and I have to. I've said this before, but I need to call out Dutch people because you know there's a lot of Dutch people that hold grudges against the Germans. Apparently, one of the things Germans did during World War II was they took all the Dutch bicycles, and then
they did.
Yeah, and so
I mean, arguably not the worst thing that the Germans did during, you know, compared to other things that happened. Not too bad, you know, like the bicycles, but
so and then there's some like football history rivalry. And,
the soccer. I thought about the soccer
a lot with the war in soccer basically.
The war in soccer. That's what
some people say that they hate Germans, but I want to call out Dutch people because the second sentence of the Dutch national anthem is "I have German blood in me."
No way.
That's the second sentence.
Dang.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So any Dutch person who says they don't like Germans is...
How did that make it? How do we Germans invade multiple countries and the national anthem of the Netherlands? That's crazy. How did that happen? Germans just... Wow. There must be some good lobbyists that work in the Netherlands.
Charm and brute force, I guess.
Yeah, charm and brute force.
But it's kind of a remote... It's not like a big city where you're from.
No, it's 800 people. Maybe 1,000 now.
Wow.
Yeah. Small town.
I'm sensing like another Arnold Schwarzenegger story happening here.
Man, look at the pecs, you know? It's not bad. Working on it.
So it's close to Switzerland?
Yeah. Literally in the southwest corner, like my hometown. When I fly into Germany, my hometown, I fly to Zurich.
Okay.
Zurich is the closest airport for me. So the Swiss border is like maybe 35 minutes from my hometown. And France, maybe it's less than an hour, 45 minutes maybe.
Oh, I bet it's gorgeous there.
Yeah. It is. It's very remote.
I love Switzerland.
I love growing up. And it's, you know, sometimes especially when I first went to New York, I thought about, damn, what would have happened if I had grown up in New York with the arts around me, easier access to, you know, self-expression, stand-up, even acting, social media. But then looking back, I'm very glad that I grew up where I grew up because I grew up with none of that. And it made me, I don't know, it kind of humbles you. And it made me like a very innocent, like naive, positive person. So yeah, I'm actually glad in retrospect. Sometimes I was... Yeah,
you might not have appreciated it. Or you maybe you would have grown up a drug addict or who knows what.
I grew up so innocent.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Now,
no fights, no drugs, nothing. Just it's like I grew up in a fairy tale town for real.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a small town outside of Orlando, Florida, but Orlando has grown massively, and my charming little town is kind of like suburban anywhere USA. But when I grew up there, it was a small citrus farming village, and there was one stoplight and a tractor crossing. And my town, Oviedo, is famous for the wild chickens that walk around on the downtown area, and they're called the Oviedo chickens. So
wild,
yeah,
dang.
So is there? Because it was like a real country town. But now, now there's a small handful of these chickens left, but it's still Well, it was what the town was known for, that we had chickens walking around. So is there something really lovable and charming about the town that you're from?
Like sure. That? I mean, we didn't have chickens running around. It was more of a town center. It was not so much farmland. But when I would wake up, for example, like my hometown, I would go for a walk. Like right away, I passed like horses. So there's lots of horses actually, horses and cows.
Nice.
Yeah. Not so much chickens. Because I went to the Grand Cayman Islands. It was the funniest thing ever. And I remember going back to the airport, and I flew from Grand Cayman Islands back to the US. And I walked into the airport, and a chicken walked out of the terminal. Cool. And I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever
seen. Just coming in from his flight.
Exactly, right? Yeah. I was like, where are you in? Where are you in? Yeah.
One of my favorite things in Germany, I like going into grocery stores in different countries.
Okay.
Checking them out. The grocery stores in Germany will have like an entire aisle of sausages.
Yeah, the sausage aisle.
Your people love sausages.
Die Wurstabteilung. Yeah.
And they're like everything. Veal sausage, lamb, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like kombucha here. We just have a sausage section. You guys have kombucha. Also, we just talked about this. I just went to live above an Erewhon, right? So Erewhon.
I don't live anywhere near Erewhon.
You did, nowhere near Erewhon, but there's Erewhons here. And you know what? I actually looked this up. I think a lot about Germany versus the US, and I love being here just for like entertainment and how you can build your own thing if you want to do anything outside the norm, like being an entrepreneur. I think the US is incredible. However, Germany is a lot more livable. First of all, groceries are way more reasonable in terms of price. There's a statistic actually that Germany is the cheapest country in the world for groceries.
No kidding.
Considering the average income, right? So of course, countries like Thailand are probably cheaper when it comes to groceries, but also people make way less. So I remember just whenever my mom would visit me here in the US, she's just blown away. Whenever I get like smoked salmon.
Yeah.
In Germany, that'd be like, for 8 ounces, that's maybe like €4. Here at Whole Foods, I pay $16.
Yeah.
4 times more, or like 3.5 times more. Insane. So
I think you got a really great viewpoint that your comedy's coming from to be making comparisons of Germany and America, and like all the jokes about being German. I mean, I love all the targets that you hit, and you're always you got to really, because it's not. I think a stereotype of Germans is a lot of them, aren't funny, and that they're pretty serious,
I'm trying
strict
to break
people.
That stereotype, yeah.
And you're silly.
I love being silly.
And
love being silly.
You hit all these like stereotypes about Germans, like really playfully and funny.
Yeah, I love breaking stereotypes. Same as because I used to work as a model.
Yeah,
and same like a model, you're also looked at as this arrogant, vain, kind of stupid guy. I love breaking that. Whenever people think I'm like some arrogant douchebag, I love being silly and breaking that stereotype, because I hate when people get put in boxes. It's really something I'm very passionate about. I hate when I see that we have all these expectations about a group of people just based on, their label.
Yeah.
So I love breaking that stuff. I love being a silly German.
It saves the time of judging people individually.
Yeah. I understand why it exists.
Yeah.
But I love breaking the expectations. Because I know how I look. Even with comedy, I notice that when I go on stage, most people assume that I'm an absolute douchebag. I know
exactly what you're talking about, because like when I lived in Amsterdam for 5 years and traveling around Europe a lot, the stereotype of Americans that they were stupid and didn't travel.
Yeah.
And I faced a lot of American stereotypes wherever I went. And it was easy to, flip it on its head. I enjoyed being proven that I wasn't a moron.
How do you prove to people that you were not a moron?
Speaking sensibly about, whatever topics come up.
Yeah.
And the fact that, my Amsterdam friends told me early, from when I was living there, all Americans wear white tennis shoes, and they'll have either a T-shirt or a sweatshirt saying where they're from.
Oh.
So it's so easy to, and then Americans are always the loudest ones talking on trains and buses and stuff. So I always tried to, speak softly. I haven't worn white tennis shoes.
Wow, you've been traumatized by that. You were like,
I would secretly want to be European. And I just want to say that I am in probably the best shape of my life.
Nice. Yeah, you look great.
I'm 175 now. I'm obsessed with hot yoga. I'm doing it like 4 or 5 times a week. And I'm weighing myself all the time. And I'm eating like an Olympic athlete because I really enjoy being skinny.
Yeah.
So I'm 175 pounds right now. But next to you, I still look like a fat guy.
You don't look fat. You're very slim.
Look how trim you are.
I mean, listen,
I still look...
I mean, I used to work as a male model, so that definitely traumatized me a little bit.
So you moved to the States when you were 18?
Yeah, I mean, I came here when I was 18. I probably started coming here. I never moved here officially, but I would have a modeling agency, so I would come here for 3 months on a contract, right? I would go to New York.
So modeling brought you to the States?
Exactly. So modeling is how I got my visa.
And you're just walking through your hard to pronounce little German village, and someone goes, "Hey, gorgeous."
Pretty much, but it was on Facebook because there's nobody walking through my German village in Eibisbach-Moor-Schwarzwald trying to recruit models. It's not. It's such a small. I don't know if you like. It's really a small town. There's not even. We don't have a mall. You know what I mean? There's nothing really there in that town.
So some pervert scanning through Facebook for good-looking guys.
Kind of. So what happened is I posted my first thirst trap when I was like 18 years old. So I had like, I was in pretty good shape as a kid. I did some martial arts and played a lot of sports. So I had like abs, right? So like 6-pack abs or whatever. And I posted a photo at a pool when I was like literally like a teen. Probably in the photo I was like 16. Yeah. And I posted that on Facebook, just on my wall or whatever to impress girls or whatever.
Yeah.
And and then somehow the algorithm finds, gay men. I guess that's what happened. So somehow somebody reposted that photo in a Facebook group called Hot German Male Models.
Wow.
A Facebook group, and I have to, attribute all my success to this Facebook group. So shout out Hot German Male Models Facebook group, because somebody posted my photo on there, and that's how I got messages from photographers. Wow. There was one guy in particular from New York. He was a modeling scout from New York City, and he messaged me and he said, "Hey, gorgeous. Eggplant emoji. You should come to New York and be a model." And he told me that I can stay with him.
If somebody sends you an eggplant emoji, it's definitely a come on.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding about the egg. But that was the general vibe, So that was definitely the vibe. It's like, "Hey, handsome, you're so gorgeous. I think you should be a model." And sure, when you're 18 years old from Eibisbach-Moor-Schwarzwald, it's impressive when somebody from New York hits you up and tells you can be a model. So I was kind of flattered and, entertained the idea, told my mom about it. And my mom is so cool because she just does not give a fuck. She's a German alpha mom. My mom always trusted me so much, and I've been so independent my whole life. Like whatever I wanted to do, my mom has never been... I feel like American parents are very controlling, or they're very protective over their kids. German parents, maybe that's just my parents. They were like, "Hey, do your own thing, figure it out by yourself." So I traveled when I was 13 for 2 months to a different country. At 15, I went to South America for a year. So I traveled a lot to where my mom trusted me enough to just make my own decisions. So when I was 18, I was like, "Hey, Mom, I'm going to go to New York. I'm going to spend..."
You were in South America for a year?
Yeah. When
I was
15, yeah.
Holy shit. And you just traveled like...
No, I went to school there. It was an exchange program almost. So I went, it was a high school year abroad. It's very common for Germans to do that, actually, yeah.
Yeah, and I know the people come here. And
exactly.
Where were you?
In Arequipa, Peru.
Oh yeah, we talked about this.
I think we mentioned.
I've been to Arequipa.
You've been to Arequipa? Yeah.
What a wonderful place.
Great.
It's cradled in the mountains.
Yeah, the volcano there. That's why I have this tattoo here. It's every place that inspired me in my life. So this is my hometown, Black Forest, and then the volcano Emisti in Arequipa, which inspired me a lot. So that's like every place where I learned something, where I live, basically.
I loved it. Oh, in New York City.
Yeah, and then New Zealand, because I lived there, and then New York City.
Wow, I loved Peru. That's one of my favorite.
Amazing.
I was working for Dutch television they let me be a presenter on a travel show for a year. So I filmed a highlight on Peru. And Arequipa was really heavenly. And not far from there is Colca Canyon, where the condors are. Yeah.
Exactly. So I saw all that. And because of those experiences, I was pretty confident just to go to New York by myself.
15 in Peru.
Yeah.
And you're tall.
I'm tall,
Peruvians are pretty short.
Yeah, I definitely stood out. I was a white, tall guy in Peru. Yeah. But it was amazing. I learned so much. I learned martial arts. I learned Spanish there. Because in Peru, nobody spoke English or German. I mean, the younger people did. For the most part, though, I really had to. I was thrown into this country with no knowledge of Spanish whatsoever.
You still speak Spanish?
I speak Spanish, yeah.
Wow.
I speak Spanish fluently now because of that.
Wow.
So beautiful. I think we're so focused, in the US, often we're so focused on studying and then right away going to college because you have otherwise you're going to be like $300,000 in debt. And I feel like in Europe, there's more of an appreciation for taking a year off and traveling. Because looking back at your life, you're not going to be like, when you're like 50, you're not going to be like, oh, I wish I'd gone to college a year sooner. No, you're going to be grateful for a year you spend in South America learning a new language. Yeah. And learning so much more than college could have ever taught me, or high school even. So I technically lost a year of high school, but I'm so grateful I did it. It was the best decision I've ever made.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then how old were you? What brought you to New Zealand?
That was after I finished high school.
Another one of my favorite countries on the planet.
Went to New Zealand. Very common for Germans.
Good sausages. Wow.
That's true. Yeah, good lamb.
Lamb sausage. Yeah. Lamb and mint.
Yeah. No, New Zealand is.
Where were you in New Zealand?
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Literally everywhere. I would travel. I was basically backpacking. So for the most time I spent in Auckland. That's where I landed first. Then I went to on the North Island. Went to Paia. I forgot what it's called. Bahia,
Palmerston North.
Yeah, and then I went all around. I went to Wellington, Nelson, South Island. Traveled all around doing odd jobs.
I never got to Wellington, but Nelson, New Zealand. One of my podcast supporters, one of my golden Buddhas, lives in Nelson. He's a comedian.
Shout out Nelson,
in New Zealand named Andre King. Beautiful man. And Nelson, New Zealand is one of my favorite.
So cool.
Most gorgeous places on earth. So cool.
Yeah. And it was great. I learned so much. I also did so many odd jobs there.
Like what? Like
I started off. Yeah. I did that, landscaping. Then I became a sales agent for a marketing company. So I was doing door-to-door sales.
Wow.
Fully commission-based. It felt like I was in the Wolf of Wall Street. It was insane. Like I remember my first day, I did very well. I did 3 sales my first day. And each sale is worth like $500, which back then was, insane money. I'd never seen that much money because I was 18 years old. And I remember the boss of my marketing firm, they always have a meeting in the morning before we go on the field to do sales. Yeah. And he would bring, he would have this gathering, right? And they'd be like, yesterday something incredible happened on their first day. One guy did something that's never been done before. He didn't do 1, not 2, but 3 sales on their first day. Then they brought me in, they rolled in a gong, like an actual gong, and I could hit the gong and the whole office was like screaming. It literally felt like Wolf of Wall Street.
Totally Wolf of Wall Street.
Just a New Zealand version, so less Lambos and less cocaine, but pretty much the same energy, And I hated it. It was great. I learned a lot.
What were you selling?
Appointments to one was sponsorships for kids for World Vision, so you can sponsor a kid in Cambodia, and I would get 50% of that. And there's something of course it's weird because it's a charity, but then also you get 50% of that. It felt a little weird. And then the second thing was just for insurance. So I had leads, and each lead I created to sign up for a call with the broker. Yeah, I would get a commission on that. And I make good money, but then they fucked me over. They didn't pay me, and then I had to go back. And when you're a backpacker and you're 18 years old, usually you don't take any legal action. I think that's how they make a lot of money. They hire backpackers to do the groundwork, and then they don't pay them. And it's happened to a lot of my friends. Wow. So that was one job I did. Then I did kiwi pecking, I did landscaping, and then I had one job where I did, the company's called Strip for Meat, and I was a shirtless bartender for bachelorette parties.
I bet you were.
Yeah. And I was so insecure back then, but I was like, I was in good shape, and I was just standing there making, I couldn't make drinks for this, like I had no experience.
Nobody cared.
But nobody cared. Nobody cared. I was just looking hot. Then these girls, I would play games with them. So I would basically make they would drink shots, like jelly shots off my stomach or something like that.
No shit.
And it was all, it was different though, because it was all women. It was all, women in their mid-30s. It's called a hen's night in New Zealand. That's called a bachelorette party.
Yeah, in England
hen's
as
night,
well.
In England too, yeah.
Which is the worst thing you want at a comedy show. Every comedian
what's up with
in
that?
Europe hates hen's nights.
What's up with that? I think drunk women heckle, I don't know what it is, and I want to generalize, but from my experience doing stand-up, drunk women have heckled me way more than any man ever has.
It's trickier when a woman heckles you, even if she's like plastered drunk.
Yeah.
I've found that you got to, because you can smash a man. You can say anything like horrendous to a man and crush him like a bug. But if you're too hard on a woman, even if she's out of control and drunk,
you lose the audience.
You can lose the audience.
100%, I can see that. So yeah. See, another double standard in our society.
Yeah.
Sexism. I'm kidding.
Well, it sounds like you've been physically exploited for most of your life.
There's a theme. There's definitely a theme. It's like the roter Faden of my life.
You're talking about like women being objectified. Like that conversation is always prevalent.
And it's true. Women are objectified, I think, more than men. But in the circles I was in, especially male modeling, I'm pretty sure, and there's even statistics about that men are victims of sexual assault and harassment more often in the modeling industry than women.
Well,
just because the industry is run by gay men, right? That's usually how it works. So, it's been a through line.
You're not respectful of your boundaries?
No, not really. Not really. I don't know if you've ever been to a gay club, but it's just, no, I love, it's the thing, I love the openness in the gay community, but sometimes there's just this idea that if you're a man, there doesn't have to be consent involved, because there's so much talk about consent and Me Too with women, right? So the conversation is very centered around the female story, which is great, but also it almost creates this false narrative of men cannot be victims and you can just do anything to a man, right? Like the amount of times I go to West Hollywood and somebody just literally walks up to me and just grabs my package, right? With no foreplay.
Really?
Like if we'd even talked if we talked, said hello, maybe there was a vibe, I would get it. But no, just straight up. And, just expecting that that's okay. So yeah, happens a lot. Yeah.
Wow.
And I've almost been conditioned to be cool with that, because when you're modeling, when I started modeling, it happens so much.
So you're like a pretty girl who's had to shake off a lot of abuse and stuff.
Yeah, because I knew that, the crazy thing is that I knew it was going to happen again because I'm a model. I knew that I was the next photo shoot I go to, the next
like
underwear
you said,
photo shoot.
The stereotype too, like you said about, male models, that they're probably thinking, you're not that smart or whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
I can feel this guy up.
And they think you are not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Because especially if you're a straight guy, they're going to be like, oh no, if I touch the straight guy, he's not going to say anything. Because saying that something happened is almost like admitting that did something gay. It's like this thing where sexuality comes into, and then this whole, I don't want to call it toxic masculinity, but definitely a man being less likely to talk about their feelings. There's a great bit by Dave Chappelle. Do you know this bit about rape? He basically told a story about how, and I'm going to butcher this, but he basically said, 8 men came out of Texas saying that a guy had raped them. And if 8 guys in Texas come forward, you know that there must be thousands, because that's a tough phone call for us to make.
Yeah.
Especially in Texas, right? And it's true, as a man, you don't really, you don't really talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, I'm sure that you put up with a lot of shit as how long was your modeling career? Like you did it until just a few years ago, right?
Yeah, I mean, technically,
how old are you?
I'm 29.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started 10 years ago. My actual career, I would say, it's actually crazy. It's been 10 years ago I started. Crazy. So yeah, maybe 5 years of actively pursuing it, meaning going to fashion weeks, trying to starve myself, putting up with all this stuff. And then slowly I started YouTube while I was modeling, because I knew that I wanted to be independent from this industry. And then it was a slow transition. And then maybe 5 years ago, I was like, I'm primarily a YouTuber. If I do some modeling jobs, I'll do it. But it's not, I'm not going to sell my soul or, try to force that. It's also not very sustainable. Modeling is stressful and yeah, it's hard to really make.
But I mean, it sounds like you had the creme de la creme of it, being flown around the world and doing these fashion things. So when did it take off for you as a model? When did you start getting plane tickets to do shoots around the world and stuff?
It's not as glamorous as you make it sound at all.
Okay.
Like I got plane tickets, but
neither was
I paid for my. So it's not like they fly me around the world. It's more like I have a contract with an agency in Milan, right? So for 3 months, I have to be Milan, right? So they would fly to Milan. The agency would pay for that, but then they would deduct it from whatever jobs I get.
Oh,
so it's not as unless you're booked.
So you have to pay for everything.
Sure, exactly, and it's also they make you pay for the model apartment you stay in.
No shit.
Which is crazy. In New York, first model apartment was during Fashion Week. We were 7 dudes sharing one bathroom in Brooklyn, New York. So it's not glamorous at all. And they charge you a lot for it too. They deduct it from your pay at the end of the day. So unless you have a big job and they want you, right? If you do, say you do a big campaign for Armani, they're going to fly you to Milan because they want you specifically. And then they pay for your flight. But if you just do Fashion Week and just trying to get jobs, it's tough.
I like that story you told me about when you were living in New York. You're starving yourself. Yeah. And you were going to these different auditions every day.
Yeah.
And you would eat carrots because bananas get smushed in your bag all day.
Yeah.
And you love carrots.
Love carrots.
And carrots have kind of become like your symbol.
It's my trademark. I love carrots because people make fun of me too, but like that's also the quirkiness. Like in New York, I was so broke. Like I was so broke, Tom. I was so fucking broke. Like I would literally, there was I was living in Greenpoint, in Williamsburg, Greenpoint, and there was a supermarket that was like 45 minutes away that had like cans of beans that were a little bit cheaper, and I would walk there for 45 minutes with backpacks. Like literally I would carry, like 20 pounds of, or like no, 20 kilo, like 40 pounds of cans and everything back to the model apartment because I was so broke. So carrots were cheap, they were healthy, and I could take them on because I had a bicycle. I would go to Manhattan every day on a bicycle for my castings, and I could always take them, put them in my backpack. They would never get brown spots. And I would just be the guy at a casting. Every time I would go to casting, they call me Carrot Boy because I always had a carrot with me, and I would just take, crunch, have a bite of my carrot.
What's up, Doc?
Yeah, exactly. Like a Bugs Bunny.
What a great thing to be your trademark.
It became.
I'm sure there's not like fun, silly models. I'm sure like when you go to an acting audition, everyone's so friggin' serious.
Yeah.
Even if it's a comedy role.
Exactly.
Everyone's tense and nervous.
Exactly.
You come rolling in.
And that's the thing that shifted for me. Because in the beginning, I had this idea that I had to be serious. I tried to fit in with all these models, but it wasn't me. I tried to be somebody else. I tried to be this guy who's like walks in and goes, "What's your name?" I'm like, "So I'm Mario. I'm from Germany. This and that." And I was like, it was not me, and I didn't book a lot of jobs. But at one point, I was like, "Fuck it. I'm just gonna go into have fun." And then I walked into the casting room with my carrots, and I was like, "It's me, Mario. What's up, guys?" And then I talked to everybody, and it was much more fun for me. But also started booking more jobs, and that was the transition of like not trying to fit in and living up to the expectations of other people, but just doing me. And that's what I started doing, especially with YouTube, because I was silly and, I brought the silliness to modeling. Like how I blew up on YouTube at first was by making vlogs, going to Fashion Week and just fucking with people. I brought my vlogging camera. I was like, "Hey, give me your best blue steel." And then somebody would be like this, and
keep talking. I'm going to turn on these lights.
Yeah. And that was the content. And I think people just resonated with the silliness that you don't really see in the modeling world. Yeah.
I like your silliness. That's my favorite thing about you. How's that?
Thank you. Perfect.
And it sounds like you found the Holy Grail as far as making the videos and booking fashion gigs by being fun and silly.
Yeah, it really was. And also what I liked about YouTube is that with modeling, there's only one way of expressing yourself. Like you can only be good looking, you can only use your face and your looks. And I just love that with YouTube, I could add a whole nother dimension of storytelling. I could use my intellect, and because modeling was very dry. I knew that I couldn't just be a model, and I don't want to shit on model, but I was like, it's too one-dimensional, because all you do is be good looking, and then it's up to somebody else.
Right.
And it's not even about being the best looking. It's also like, your look, and then it's politics, and you have to like metaphorically suck somebody's dick to get a job, or literally, there's a lot involved. So I just loved,
or literally,
honestly, that it happens so many times. I mean, yeah, like people literally offer me magazine covers if I let them touch me.
Well,
which is kind of interesting because like it's like a double receiving. You get a magazine cover and you get a beat job. So
how many covers have you been on?
It was like multiple. It was like I picked the good ones. I was like, what magazine are we talking exactly?
But you've walked on the runway in like Milan at the Milan Fashion Week and stuff like that. Like how cool is that? Or is it?
It is cool. It is cool. Depending on what show it is.
Backstage.
It is chaos backstage, and there's no money in that.
Yeah, okay.
No money. People always think that modeling, you make so much money.
Yeah.
But no, it's crazy. Like, first of all, bringing up the sexism again, women make way more, by the way. Women are way overpaid in modeling. Not overpaid, but it makes sense, right? I mean, there's more of a market. Women, fashion is more popular, so it makes more money. Yeah. It makes sense, right? So that's one part. And then also the whole fashion industry doesn't pay much. What pays are commercial brands like Adidas, Macy's, Target. They actually have that's a consistent pay. But these high fashion designers, they're very like, it's more about the prestige. Even doing something like Vogue magazine, which is arguably the biggest fashion magazine in the world, they don't really pay. A lot of models do it for free. They just get lunch, but they do it for the exposure, right?
No kidding. Just because you're in Vogue.
Yeah, exactly. If you're in Vogue, that's like almost like that's like I don't know what the equivalent in comedy would be, but if you pass at the Comedy Cellar or something, it's like it gives you some credibility or something, or
a lot of the cable channels just pay dog food. Just to low ball money because they know people want to get it.
Sure. So that's what it's like in modeling. And then you have, the bottom is magazines make no money. Usually it's unpaid. Sometimes they pay you 50 euros. It's like really, I've been paid 50 euros for a magazine full day shoot. Then on top of that, runway shows, they're usually like maybe a couple $100 or euros. But then on top of that, you have to if you have to think about the time that goes into that. To book one runway job for Fashion Week, sure, it pays whatever, $400. But in order to get that, you have to go to 20 castings to get one job. It usually takes depending on you, but for me it took 19 no's. It took 20 castings to get one job. So 19 times you get rejected, one time you book the job. So the time that goes into going to all these castings in person, trying to find a way around Milan with Google Maps and stuff, running to these castings, being stressed, waiting in line for 2 hours, going to another fitting, all that for $400. So if you break it down to an hourly wage, models in Fashion Week make no money. And most models, and that's a fact, most models who go to Milan Fashion Week lose money by going there.
Wow.
Because you spend more on the flight and the accommodation and all that.
So it's like the Edinburgh Festival.
Yeah.
You got to spend a ton of money to get there. Nobody's making any money. And
exactly, yeah.
The venues are making it. Did you have a look on the runway, like when you come down to the end of the?
Oh yeah, male modeling is way more boring than female modeling because female models, there's much more of a, Victoria's Secret. You can do some cool things and smile and kind of have personality. Male models is you just gotta look like you're pissed at the world because God made you so beautiful, and you just gotta picture that all soul has left your body, and you just look pissed, And you just walk down the runway, masculine, empty,
I had a model tell me if you put your tongue on the roof of your mouth, it brings your cheek in. Brings your cheeks in for photos.
Yeah, there's
little tricks like
for
that.
For photos, there's little tricks, yeah. I was very insecure because when I was modeling, I had when I was younger, I had some more baby fat, so I had a more round face.
Yeah.
Some agents would sometimes even tell me that my face is too round. I was very insecure about it. So whenever I would go to photo shoots.
You're very angular.
Yeah, now I am. It came with age. But when I was younger, as old photos, I look way more, I'm way more, I just had some more baby fat here, so I was more round. And then I would be very insecure, so I would literally look at the camera, just be have a little bit of that, or even show only shoot from the side, because then my jawline came out more, and I don't look as big in my face. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do, and it kind of.
Okay, last question about modeling.
Yeah.
You were on or hosted Germany's Next Top Model with Heidi Klum. I read your Wikipedia.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you were one of the hosts, or?
Yeah, so I was a...
were you shitting on other models? Like saying...
No, I was not a host. I was like more of a guest star.
So you were being shit on by the hosts?
Not really. It was more like I was an accessory to the female models. Because in Germany, the show is only about female. I mean, back then it was. Okay. I don't know, it was 2019 or 2020, a couple years ago. So basically what happened is I was on the show. The female models was maybe like 8 of them left. They were at a villa in Bel Air. And then I had to basically shoot with them. And I was paired with one of the models. And they had to shoot with me. But the model I was shooting with, she's transsexual. And we did a photo shoot. And first I didn't know she was transsexual. They didn't tell me. But obviously that's a bigger story, right? Because that's also like 2019 when it was, not as common, right? Not as common knowledge, right? And not as openly represented in television, I would say, right? So then I had this photo shoot and it was crazy. It was like in Bel Air. They made us like, it was the most dramatic photo shoot you can ever imagine. It was like they had rain come down on us and she had like this dress and I had like this crazy suit on and I was swirling her around and it was like the theme was romance. And then we were just posing and shooting and then Heidi Klum was saying, hey, kiss her. And then I just looked at her and it was this moment that the rain was falling down. I looked at her and they had the perfect lighting on my eyes too. My eyes were like, there's little twinkles in my eyes. And then I just kiss her and I swirl her around. And then it's unbelievable how like television editing can tell a story. I mean, I looked at the footage when the episode came out. They cut out Heidi Klum saying that to kiss her.
Okay.
So it just looks like I'm madly in love with her, and this impulsive moment we just started making out. And I watched the footage, and I'm like, oh fuck, I think I'm in love with her. You know what I mean? I was not even sure if I was in love with her. Yeah. It was wild, but it was really cool. It was a really fun experience. And then basically after the fact, I gave some interview after the whole thing happened. And I looked at the camera, and they asked me, hey Mario, in that moment, what was going through your head? And I said something very cheesy, like, in a moment like this, you just forget about everything around you and you just get lost in the moment. And then they overlaid it with that romantic music. It was crazy. And then it became a whole thing on German television of like all the little, the TMZ of Germany. They were all like, oh, influencer model Mario in love with Tatiana, which is, the trans model from Germany's Next Top Model. Yeah. So it became a bigger deal than it was. And I kind of was the biggest story of that episode, which is like that love story. And then they followed us around. It's a whole thing on German television. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And what's funny with that? It's like, because I was also on American Idol with Katy Perry, which is arguably a bigger show, more exposure. But that Germany's Next Top Model thing, in terms of exposure, like how many followers I gained, how much conversation there was around it, and how many people to this day bring this up to me, it was way bigger than American Idol. Like Germany's Next Top Model has a really big reach also. Because it's German, I think they're more connected, and also it's a younger demographic. So they're more on social media. So I think that's also why I would notice it more.
What did you do with?
Wild,
that's amazing. And when I lived in Amsterdam, I had a late night talk show for 2 years, and then I got to be a presenter on a travel show. So I don't know if you know who Dave Attell is. He's a brilliant comedian. Mm-hmm. He had a show on Comedy Central. Called Insomniac, and he would just go around the world drinking. Oh. But for the Amsterdam episode, he came to Amsterdam to experience the 7 deadly sins. Oh. Which was a brilliant concept for going to Amsterdam to film a TV show. Yeah. So I was envy. Because we were friends, and he envied the fact that I had a television show. And then I took him, we filmed for 2 nights going around Amsterdam. And I took him to, we went to a few different nightclubs. And some women talked to me, but the way they cut it together, I looked like Elvis Presley. It looked like wherever we went, women were on me and talking
unbelievable.
To me. Yeah,
the power of the edit is unbelievable. Like I was making these street interviews, or even a podcast. I mean, I could edit a podcast and make you look like an absolute moron. You know what I mean? You can always cut out it's so evil what people can do with editing. Yeah, take things out of context, move things around. It's insane. Have you seen this, like, there's even speeches of Donald Trump where it's like moments of him actually speaking and he goes like, I like to suck dick or something. It's like him basically, you can reconstruct the whole, not even, now there's
It's almost
fakes.
like those old, ransom notes where they cut out different words from newspapers.
Yeah, exactly.
They do that with editing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like with AI technology, they could have us saying or doing anything. You know,
and it's really it's just new. I'm not too afraid of AI, but it's mind blowing how advanced it is already.
Yeah,
like there's an AI right now where you can speak into the camera, and it's gonna transcribe it live into Mandarin. And I've seen podcasts that I followed that did an example where the guy was just all of a sudden a white guy speaking in Hindu.
Wow.
And I was like, this is his voice. It sounds like his voice. And if you really listen, look closely, and even the mouth, it even adjusts the mouth movement to where it sounds like what's spoken. Because obviously English has a different mouth movement than when you speak Hindu versus German and everything, you know. Unbelievable.
So I might be able to put this episode out in German?
That is what's going to happen. You're going to be able, and even it's going to be integrated with YouTube, I'm sure, where you can switch on a toggle and be like, okay, transcribe this video into Tagalog, you know, or Hindu or whatever, and then you can just have it, or Spanish, and then have the whole video, the whole conversation of us, and it's just going to be in Espanol.
Wow, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Wow. The facial recognition technology also of like Facebook and Instagram, where we've put photos forever on there.
Yeah.
You know, what they're going to be able to recreate our images, our voices.
Yeah.
So,
and I just talked to a company, they're called Sugar World, and it's kind of crazy what they're doing. They're basically, it's an adult website, kind of like OnlyFans.
Okay.
But what they're doing, they're taking a step further, which is where you can have your full body scanned. You can have a 3D scan of your body, meaning everything, however much you want. You can even scan your private parts and everything, you know. You can also enhance, I asked them if you can enhance them, but they can do all of that. But then you have this 3D avatar, and you're like a video game character at the end of the day. And then they can upload you into a virtual reality game. You know,
wow,
kind of like the metaverse.
So that'll be the future, where you're your own avatar,
exactly,
in these games and stuff.
Not you're your own avatar, but your fans can interact with your avatar.
Well,
using AI technology, the AI can imitate your voice, your mouth movement. So they're gonna literally be able, and this is very new technology now, but I cannot imagine where this is gonna be in 5 years. It's gonna be mind blowing, where you can just go, log in, pay to. You know, you like Argentina, you like Lionel Messi, right? So you can have an avatar of Lionel Messi, and he's going to be in there with your headset. You're going to see him. You're going to look down. You're going to see his exact body and everything, you know? And you can talk to him, and he's going to reply to you, and AI is going to have a conversation with you, and you can really create a deep connection with Lionel Messi.
Well,
I mean, he probably not be the best example, but even like, no, you know, what they're using for
is... they could take every interview he's ever said, but also...
information.
Posts people have done... Regular people like on Twitter/X or Facebook, they could kind of figure out the pattern of the way you speak, words you use.
100%.
And
it's already pretty good, and it's going to get only better. Like you can just sit down and just...
Yeah, so for him, they could mine all the interviews he's done in his career.
There's so many.
There's so many.
Better example, like Barack Obama. You can sit down with Obama and be like, hey, Obama, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? What is your insight on this? And you can literally... in virtual reality, you're going to be able to have conversations. So then there's even the point of like, you can even have a podcast. Theoretically, there could be a podcast between two people, fully, even dead people, you know? You can have Martin Luther King have a conversation with Barack Obama, and it's fully AI powered, but they're going to talk back and forth to each other, and it's going to be interesting. And this conversation would obviously never happen in real life.
Well, at least there can be world peace online.
Yeah. And the craziest thing is the adult space, because...
Oh, then they can make anyone a porn
you can have sex. So, and then there's going to be like attachments in real life where you can have sex with a person, and in VR, you're going to see how you're having sex with them. It's crazy this is like really Ready Player One kind of dystopian, but it's happening, and it's happening fast.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe people will stop having sex, and
there already are.
People
are already having way less sex.
A journalist friend of mine from the Washington Post earlier today, and he was telling me that like this generation doesn't have sex.
No. There's a lot of. I think it's like the excessive. Like
I think
there's so many
the generation
distractions
before this one was raised on porn. They do and have.
Well, I wonder, it's like a balance, right? Because like more technology is easy, makes access to sex easier. You know, like dating apps, stuff like that. But then also too much technology makes it redundant. So it's like that middle ground. I wonder who was having enough, the most sex. Then on top of that, hormonally, people change. You know, because that's what Alex Jones is saying. You know, like the water, the estrogen levels makes the frogs gay and makes the man more like impotent.
I don't listen to Alex. Is that what he's saying?
It's just like a thing, a very famous thing he said. I don't follow him. I'm just saying like that's a famous thing.
I don't know.
That's a famous thing he was saying is like the water makes the frogs gay because you know the water contains things like that increase your estrogen levels.
Someone told me recently that not to drink the tap water in America because it has fluoride.
Yeah.
And the fluoride blocks your third eye. Which, I always thought the fluoride was good for the teeth and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much information. You can have any study saying that veganism is the best thing you can ever do. And then there's studies that say the exact opposite. So it's always hard to what to believe, Yeah.
Well, on to more important topics. What's Katy Perry like? I love Katy Perry.
She's amazing. I mean, honestly, I was a little worried when I went into this whole thing with American Idol because I was wearing a Speedo going into the American Idol audition in front of Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, and Luke Bryan.
Are you a grower or a shower?
I'm more of a grower, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I put a little sock, a little padding in there. It's just, you gotta do what you gotta do.
The secrets of the trade.
Exactly. I'm gonna be honest about this. But no, it was cool because I thought maybe Katy Perry was gonna think it was obnoxious or she was gonna think I was a douchebag. But out of everybody, she was the most into it and it was the most fun.
Nice.
So then, I don't know if you saw the clip, but I did the whole thing. You didn't see it?
No.
So what happened is I did the audition. I had an original song where I played this character where I was like, oh, I don't want to be a model anymore. I want to be taken seriously for my talents and not for my looks anymore as I'm standing there in a Speedo, So I sang like a whole song. It was a comedy song. And then Katy Perry, we kind of challenged each other to like a catwalk battle, like a walk-off.
Oh, nice.
And then I said, hey, if I win the walk-off, you're going to have to pass me and give me a golden ticket to go to Hollywood. And we did it. We did a catwalk, and I did a full catwalk battle with her, like a Zoolander walk-off, and it was really fun. It was one of the most fun, silly moments, and I love that she was silly enough to just follow along with it. So we did the whole catwalk battle back and forth, and I still think I won. I still think I would have deserved to go to Hollywood, but she didn't give me a yes for American Idol, but she gave me a yes for life. Because they said I was so much fun.
You've been certified fun.
I'm not a good singer. I'm gonna admit that I'm a horrible singer. So that's, if I was able to sing on top of that, that would have been fucking amazing. But I wish for one day, I wish there was some sort of pill you can take just for one day to be able to sing.
That's
for one day.
What a genius idea for a pill.
That would be so just for one day.
Have take a pill and then you can sing. That's
have a skill that you don't have just for one day. That'd be so cool.
Which song would you do if you could sing anything?
Oh, some really crazy like hype, like Adele or something like.
I would do like an Aretha Franklin.
From the other, like something really difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do definitely a Aretha Franklin, like
exactly,
Natural Woman.
Yeah.
or Save Me or something.
Yeah.
So, what brought you to Los Angeles? I mean, you were pursuing a comedy career, and you hadn't met the love of your life yet.
No.
So, did you move here on your own?
Yeah. So everything, I didn't know anybody anywhere.
You didn't know anybody?
Well, LA I did. So what I'd been to LA a couple times for modeling jobs. And then what happened, I was in New York I was New York based most of the time when I was in the US, because New York's the fashion capital of maybe the world, definitely the US. So I'll be in New York a lot, and then I would come to LA a couple times, and then one winter was so brutal, and then I went to Burning Man, California, or Burning Man in Nevada. In Nevada. And because you just went this year, right?
Yeah.
That's how you got connected with your friend.
We're friends. So we'll tell that story in a minute. But so you had gone to Burning Man.
So I went to Burning Man, and that made me move to California because all the people I met, it was a magical experience. My first burn was incredible, learned so much, had this amazing community of people. The camp I was in was basically, they were mainly Israelis, but a lot of them lived in Venice Beach, you know? So after I had so many friends, and I had one friend who introduced me from New York to this camp, but I loved the vibe. And after that, I just went back to California and I just stayed in LA. And I love the weather, because New York winters are kind of tough.
Brutal, yeah. I mean, and I know, I lived in New York when I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
Completely broke.
Yeah.
In Washington Heights.
Yeah.
So I could relate to that story you were telling. And then years later, I when I had money, I lived there for a couple of years, and it's a much nicer place to live
when you have money.
If you have money, and this is my third time living in LA, and the reason I moved here, not New York, was because the friggin' winters are so brutal. Yeah,
and also I was doing more social media at that point. LA is, I think, better for social media. Lots of opportunities. I mean, there's just much. First of all, you have more space. So if you want to do your own things, like a podcast, like the place I have now in West Hollywood, I looked up in New York, in Manhattan specifically. Of course, you can always go far out, but in a nice area in Manhattan, comparable to West Hollywood, like say Chelsea, this would be double, easily, for the same place, same square footage and everything. So I think LA is just a little bit more livable, a little less expensive.
Yeah.
And there's more focus on social media because there's more podcasters here, influencers, all the TikTok houses, people to collaborate with. One of my best friends, Travis Bryant, who I made a lot of YouTube videos with and people loved, our dynamic together. We have such a great chemistry. Our channels were very much intertwined. So that made me essentially move to California. And then I started improv. I always loved challenging. I fell in love with improv.
So you had not done stand-up comedy before you...
Never.
You started in LA.
I started in LA.
And it was on that first date with your now fiance?
Yes. So I took
that was the first time you ever did
That was the first time I did. I mean, I took an
this
intro...
This love story has to last forever.
Right? And then full circle, I did the proposal on stage again, you know? So that's like the reason. No, but my first time doing stand-up was technically at Second City. We had an improv there. And they had one day I showed up on the wrong day. And they told me, hey, your class is not starting today. But we have an intro class for stand-up comedy, like a crash course or something.
Wow.
So I took that. I was like, why not? I've never thought about stand-up, never done it before. And I did it, and immediately I fell in love with it. Because it's essentially what I was doing on YouTube, just telling a story to the camera, but connecting with 5 people in that class felt so much more impactful than having a video reach 1 million views. Because it's real, because I mean, stand-up, right? You connect with people in real life.
Yeah.
And that energy exchange was beautiful. So I loved it. And then
that feeling when you released the punchline out of your mouth.
Yeah.
That moment.
Especially the first time when you write the joke the first time.
That moment right before and their faces change when they laugh.
Yeah, and building the tension and feeling that. That's beautiful.
I'm addicted to that.
100%. So I fell in love with that, and I started stand-up that was 3 years ago. So I did my first open mic 3 years ago. Loved it so much. Then didn't do it for 1.5 years because of COVID.
Yeah.
And I went back to Europe. But then now for the past 1.5 years, I've been really... Stand-up's been my main focus the last 1.5 years. And now it's really where I see my career
and you're bringing
going.
A German efficiency to it because I see the videos, you're working so hard. You're really focused and doing great work.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I think a lot of, people can be lazy at their approach to it.
I'm not. I'm very, definitely one thing I have is the German efficiency. I love building systems, and I don't know, stand-up is an art form, right? But I see a lot of comics just being very, because there's a lot of people who are great artists. And I see so many comics who are unbelievably talented. But I think now, especially with stand-up, you need to have, I think, both the talent and also kind of the efficiency, some sort of the hard work and the business mind a little bit. He said the landscape's changed so much too. Yeah. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So it's become more of a main focus. It was always something I was just playing around with. But that's my goal now. Doing bigger shows, yeah.
And because I think you're a superstar waiting to happen. And,
thank you.
What are your biggest dreams?
Honestly,
do you want to,
I
do specials and then start doing acting? And
I don't know. Acting, I'll do it for sure. It was never, I liked acting and it was my big passion in New York. That's what I learned so much. I went to this very intense method acting class. But honestly, I love the freedom of social media. If I can just take that, keep writing comedy. I love writing comedy. Every day I love writing comedy. If I can just get to the point
How do you write? You told me you write in the morning.
In the morning with no input, no social media.
So you don't turn on the phone, you don't turn on the computer?
Nothing. I make some green tea, I stretch, I do some meditate for a second, and then I just write down, and it just like, I go back to sometimes what I did last night. I have some notes, like I'm working on this big bit about the sexual assault that is very new. I've never written about it, but then I keep coming back to it, and I just like write from an empty mind, which I think once you check your phone, you have some input, and then that's going to distract you.
Yeah.
But in the morning is my most efficient time from when I wake up, like 3 hours after I wake up. I'm just like, it's like a blank canvas, and I love that. So that's when I have my best ideas usually, is in the morning. But everybody is different, so that's how I do it. So my goal would be just to keep doing stand-up, honestly.
I love that. You love stand-up for itself, and you're happy to have this career.
If I can make enough, I make money with YouTube. I'm very fortunate in that way. I'm going to keep making that. I love making content on YouTube. But if I can just tell stories on a bigger scale where it's more sustainable, because right now I'm trying to like chase. I go to New York all the time to do these 5-10 minute spots everywhere.
Yeah.
Once I would love to be just, next year, and I know it's going to happen, like just be a touring comedian, like headline my own shows. And from there, just keep getting better. I'm new to stand-up, and I'm excited to just get better at stand-up in the next year.
Great. Well, I think anybody who's discovering you now will really enjoy going to YouTube and discovering all this great content that you've created. I think it's beautiful that Burning Man, you met the people that made you decide to move to Los Angeles, because I had never had any desire to go to Burning Man.
Yeah.
And this guy who's a fan, who became a friend, he had an extra ticket, and I went.
Yeah.
Spontaneously
That's
this
the
year.
best. Yeah.
And we needed a parking pass for my car.
Yeah.
And this woman from Germany had a parking pass, and so met her at like the gates at Burning Man opened at midnight, and met this woman in Gerlach or whatever the town is close
the town
to.
Before,
at like 12:15, and then she rode in with me. And it was like 4.5 hours
crazy,
crawling traffic when they opened the doors. And I had this brilliant conversation with her. She had been to Peru. She had traveled, she loved Mexico, really traveled the world when she was young, like you. And so we had a ton of things in common. And then during, I visited her a couple times. I visited her, met her brother.
Yeah.
And then the night they burned the man, I hung out with her. It was my favorite night of Burning Man.
Nice.
Was hanging out with this German brother and sister. And then she came to LA, and I guess she met you.
Yeah, I met her on a hike with my friend Jeremy Fragrance. We went on a hike, and I told her that I was doing stand-up and had a show coming up. And she was like, oh, I just met this guy, Tom, this amazing stand-up comic. You guys should meet. And that's how we got in touch.
So Burning Man and this connection I had with this amazing woman is how I met you.
Love it.
And what a joy.
What a joy.
And
we're going to have babies soon, and that's going to be a whole story.
It's great. I'm glad you're going to do my show in Venice Beach. I just want to ask you two last things. One thing that popped into my mind I find really fascinating about German people and German culture is how much they love Christmas.
Oh yeah.
And on television for like all of December are like the most elaborate. The Christmas television shows in Germany are freaking mind-blowing. And then you got all the Christmas markets.
The market is what I can relate to. So, not so much the television, but the markets. That's crazy. My mom actually works. My family's in the Christmas business.
You're kidding?
Yeah, because my uncle has his whole business, and my whole family helps. And when I'm in Germany, I always help them. They have a Christmas tree farm. So what they do basically is, they take all the trees, and some people come to their farm and
chop them
they have
down
a big house.
With the family, have that moment.
We would do that. No, seriously, before around December, whatever, 10th, 11th, we would go, and all my cousins, I have a lot of cousins, and my brother, my dad has a lot of brothers, so they were 7 siblings total, so everybody would help, and my cousins, and we'd all work together, And then we'd go back and we'd have Glühwein after we're done with work, and we go to the market and it's cold, but we sell them together. And my mother...
I love the Glüh wine.
Oh, yeah.
I don't drink anymore, but when I was living in Europe, that warm red wine is at Christmas.
There's also an alcohol-free version of that called Punch. But yeah, it's great. They have the cider too, like with the cinnamon and stuff. Yeah. It's just great Christmas vibes. I love it. And then my mother actually, she makes the wreaths. Right?
Oh,
wreath, that's a word.
Yeah.
When you put four, because in Germany, like traditionally, you light one candle each week leading up to Christmas.
Yeah.
Right? So once the fourth candle's lit, that's when Christmas Eve happens.
So your family grows Christmas trees and your mom makes Christmas wreaths?
My mom would, and I would help my mom when I was younger. She would cut the branches and then use the branches to actually manually make a wreath out of the pine trees. And she put other stuff like leaves in there and stuff like that. It's very beautiful, very wholesome. I'm telling you, very wholesome family.
I love it.
Family's very wholesome.
I want to stay friends, and I want to go visit your village.
Yo, Christmas Mars.
I want to come to your German castle wedding.
Yes, that's gonna happen next year. I don't know where, but some castle in Germany.
Do you know what month it's gonna be?
We don't know yet. It also depends on the venue because you have to, basically reserve it a year in advance. Okay. We were thinking September would be dope. In a year from now.
Great.
Yeah, like a fall wedding.
I hope I can be there.
Yeah,
and I'll cry even harder at your wedding than I did.
You'll meet my fiance tonight at the show.
Great.
She's going to come by, yeah.
That's what I was going to say. We have to go because you invited me to do your show you're putting on at the Hollywood Comedy Club.
Yeah, that's perfect, yeah.
Is there any wisdom or words of advice that you'd like to give to the people of the earth?
Well, I always say, always make fun the priority, because that's literally what helped me is not be so serious, and then everything else will come.
I like that.
Yeah.
Rejoice and activate your silliness.
That's right.
Mario, Adrion,
thanks so much.
Long may you run, my brother.
Absolutely.
It's
been a pleasure.
How do you say hooray for humanity in German?
Hurra für die Menschheit. It sounds a little Third Reich, but it is what it is.